youtube.com/at Talk That Tech Show. So that way you yourself can get involved and see the episodes that are happening in the past. And so let me see who's here. We got Grape Sodar in the building. Good morning. Good morning. So glad to see you bright and early. It's so glad to see you.
Morning.
Good
It's my
morning,
favorite
Grape
soda.
Sodar. I know, right? Man, talking about brands of grape soda, what would be Sunkist for you, or would you have another brand?
I'd probably go with Fanta.
Fanta. Fanta's classic. Classic right there. Well, listen, y'all, we alluded to it during the conversation that during the ad, I should say, or the thumbnail, but we do have a special guest that will be joining us today, and I'm excited to introduce him to you. None other than Will Before the Billions. How are you doing, sir? Welcome to the show. So glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you for having me up here, Joe. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Joe and Ralph, for having me up here and giving my story and just talking about technology. I'm really passionate about it.
Good morning. Good morning.
Yeah, no,
Good morning.
good morning. Absolutely believe it and seen it for ourselves. Like mentioned before, we actually both have been watching your YouTube page and seeing your story, seeing your journey, and I just want to congratulate you on all that's gonna unpack. But I don't want to steal your thunder. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about it. But I'm gonna go to the comment section real quickly before we get into the show. Got Operation Tech Takeover in the building. He says peace and blessings, family. So glad that you're able to join. And man, so glad that you're able to be here. In fact, he's responsible for one of the topics that we'll be talking about today. So listen, if you guys are not connected with us on LinkedIn, go ahead and connect with us on LinkedIn. Let us know what topics you want us to talk about because we will talk about it. That is a guarantee for sure that we'll try our best to talk about it. So he is responsible for one of the conversations that we're going to have today. There are a few things I want to touch on before we kind of get rolling into the show. First and foremost, hearts, prayers, and well wishes are for those that are affected by Hurricane Milton. I mean, it was back to back. You have Helene and then you have Milton. And so, if you are, I don't know if you want to give any status updates on your end because you are in the Sunshine State. But man, from the news, it looks terrible, brother. How are things going on your end of the world?
So Florida is a really large state, right? So and it's really like West Central Florida. They got most of the damage. South Florida, nothing really. North Florida. North Florida probably has some remaining stuff from Hurricane Helene, although it wasn't as bad for them as it was for like the North Carolina, Georgia areas. But it's really and it could have been a lot worse down here. But at the last minute, the hurricane shifted south just a little bit, and it got a less populated area than if it was to get a direct hit to Tampa. So, but yeah, it's gonna take some time for them to recover a lot of damage and property loss and stuff like that. I heard the death toll is growing too. Last I
Yeah.
heard, so but it's still not as bad as it was. It has been for Helene. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, and I know that you're in Peach Country there, BDB. Were you at all, or anybody you know, were affected by Hurricane Helene or anything that was going on at that time?
Yeah, unfortunately, I had a few friends who got trapped. They were traveling in North Carolina. The president of Technologists of Color, he gave his story of him and his family being stuck in their car
Wow,
for like two days or something. But
wow,
they were able to kind of find safety, and their insurance helped them out, and they were able to get back home safely. So I'm thankful because that's a really close friend of mine. And then also even like in Atlanta, a lot of people's like lights went out, and people like it may be like something that you expect, but a lot of people depend on their lights, and you know people who are sick or people who have like medical issues or stuff like that, it can really affect them. So yeah, definitely. I've been affected by it, by like the lights and everything like that. But I do know some people who were actually like heavily affected by it.
wow. And speaking about medical, you mentioned keeping that in mind, we actually have somebody here. OTTO says, keep my mother in your prayers, family. She had a stroke last night and in the hospital right now. So we definitely will. I will definitely pray for your mother, and we'll definitely continue to keep me in the loop, man. You know where to get me at. So keep me in the loop about that for sure. Mustard Seed Productions, thank you so much for jumping and joining us on Instagram, y'all. So thank you so much for coming in and being part of the show. It's gonna be a very special one. So yeah, with that being said, I just wanted to I'm looking at everything, and I think it might be a good time to kind of segue into just checking in with everybody's weekend. Obviously, Operation Tech Takeover, your weekend. Unfortunately, you had the situation happen. But how was everybody's weekend in general?
Yeah, man. I want to say I'm sorry to hear that about Operation Tech Takeover. You'll be in my prayers as well. As far as my weekend has gone, I have just been getting off from my first week starting my new job. I went 6 months without a job and without a full time job,
Mm.
and that was a rough patch. But I was able to make it to the other side. Started my new job on last Monday, and I'm working at a company called Cargill. It ranked the top 15 private companies in the world. So
Wow.
I would not be here if it wasn't for the consistent work that I had to put in. But yeah, this weekend has been great. Just feeling good, and then getting closer to that first paycheck too. That's another great feeling. So
Love it, man. Love it. And we'll definitely unpack your story more. Tech Coach Ralph, how's your weekend going for you?
It's pretty good. Feeling a little bit sore. Preparing for a competition, a jiu-jitsu competition this coming Saturday. So me and a friend, we were training on Saturday. Then we played basketball yesterday, and a lot of recording and live streaming this weekend. You know, the typical schedule.
Yes, he is a martial artist for those who do not know, so do not play with him. Uh, just make sure that you are on his right side, right, Mitch? I don't know if Mitch is scared to come out today, but I don't see him.
He's not coming. He's not coming.
Yeah, so it's he might come out. Adrian was saying dope to the conversation about you BTB becoming back in the workforce, and also Operation Takeover says you will crush it in regard to your competition. OSS Ralph. Come on
That's
now.
jujitsu talk for it says os.
Oh, oh yes. Oh, we got just RON on Instagram, y'all. This is gonna be a good one, man. I'm actually gonna get right into the first topic because we have so much that we can cover and talk about. And I did have an icebreaker for us, but we're gonna get right into it because there's so much to cover. And I wanted to just share this with y'all because this is something I saw, and I actually shared it to Tech Coach Ralph, and Tech Coach Ralph was like, I saw it too. And I wanted to get everybody's opinion on this, but it was very interesting. So if you see it right here, this is something I'm going to let Tech Coach Ralph talk about it, but this is something that's rolled out by none other than our good friend Elon Musk. And I wanted to kind of get your thoughts on this and you to share with the audience what it's about.
So these are the Tesla Optimus Gen 2 robots, human droids, right? And they pretty much do a lot of stuff that humans can do. So they're like Joseph said, they're being developed by Tesla. They're more than a prototype right now. They actually started working on these back in 2021. They showcased it last year, and this year at the recent Tesla event, they made some improvements to it. But some key features, they have the ability, as you see, to walk on two legs, with arms and hands. They're equipped with AI systems similar to the Tesla self-driving technology, and they can perform tasks like sorting objects, balancing on one leg, not sure why they would need to do that, and lifting objects. They also use computer vision and deep learning to perceive navigation and surroundings. So some things that it can help with, it can perform unsafe, repetitive, or boring tasks, as well as assisting in manufacturing and other industrial settings. If you remember, we were talking about the dock workers trying to oppose automation. Well, looks like they have some competition coming very soon. They can also perform household chores like carrying packages, watering plants, or mowing lawns. Elon Musk is estimating these to cost eventually between $20,000 to $30,000. They're going to start using them in 2025 for like in their own plants, and then eventually maybe around 2026 they'll release it to other companies, maybe to the public at some point. So my thoughts on all this, right? If I could order if I can pre-order like 5 of these, I would do it right now. And it's interesting when I hear like it's so funny, like when I hear women talk about it, like, yeah, I want like 5 because I'm they're gonna have them do this and that, right? But like you're like, oh no, I'm afraid of them. I don't wanna. But me, I'm like, I'm already creating my task list for my robots to do, because if they can mow the lawn, if they can clean the house, and people are like, oh my god, they're gonna take over, they're gonna attack us. I'm like, man, um, if you can alleviate other stuff, so I can work on like put out if I can live even more because the robots are helping me. Come on, Joseph, like don't threaten me with a good time. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, before I say anything, I'm gonna pass it to Before the Billions. What is your thoughts on this?
Yeah, man. Have you seen the memes of Tesla and iRobot? I mean, it's really interesting because you do see a lot of the parallels. What they say is uh art imitates life or life imitates art, right? Because they were saying like they had the Tesla Optimus bot, like Optimus, right? Like Autobots. But then also it looks just like Sunny from iRobot, if you've ever watched that movie.
Yep.
Um, Overall, I mean, I think it's cool that we have the ability to be able to have robots and stuff. I don't foresee it like taking people's jobs anytime soon, right? But I do see like sometimes when you go into like in some parts of Georgia or some parts of Atlanta, um, like you'll see them being like a cashier, right? Like that may be something that you may see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just like really one of those like minimum wage type of tasks, but nothing like thinking like nor like construction. I haven't seen that yet, so I think we have a long way to go before it actually becomes like a big issue.
That's a good point. Yes, in Atlanta, I did see videos of that where you basically go into the mall and they're right there ready to serve you as a cashier. I definitely believe along the lines of it actually becoming something that we might see a decade from now, uh, in more integral roles. Believe it or not, in my opinion, based off of the conversations that I'm having with others and other forms of technology that are coming out. So, of course, we have this as one iteration, but I'm also seeing things where technology wise, they're looking to also for transportation. We talked about the whole shipping yard, having automated robots that can move things along from shipping to train. There's so many different things that are coming out that people are working on that what's life going to look like in the next 15, 20 years. I'm not, I won't be surprised if there is like a maid service that is typically all robots that are coming out to clean your house, or to do your grass. Uh, it's getting pretty quickly to places that we didn't see. Now, with this, of course, rolling out, it's going to probably take some time. But again, I'm not surprised if in 15, 20 years, we do see services that are built around robots like this. They don't take off days, they don't complain, they get the job done, right? That's the way I'm thinking about it. But I want to go to the comment section real quickly because we got Mitch in the building. I was saying, that you should probably live stream that match. But then Mitch said, why when we already know the outcome? Otherwise, saying he doesn't think you're going to make it through.
Shout out to my best friend Mitch.
Yeah, Mitch is hilarious. Yakar said, salute to y'all.
What's
Thank you
up,
so
your
much.
car?
Yeah, he says salute everyone. Rob Brown says salute everybody. So glad that you're able to stop by and be a part of this conversation. Yeah, so this is definitely dope. So yeah, in regards to just specifically this conversation, y'all, what do you guys think about this? I think that it's going to take time, like Before the Billion says. But let me ask you this question. Maybe this is a better question I could throw to you right now. Is it worth that 20K, that 20, 30K? What do you guys think? I mean, it's the amount of a car. For 20 or 30K, would you buy this right now if you had the cash on you?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's worth it. Well, I personally don't need one, right? But I remember Elon Musk was talking about all the things it can do, like be your friend and stuff like that. So I can see why, like, if people had disposable income and they didn't have like friends around them or family and stuff, I can see somebody like purchasing one of these or just like an extra maid around the house, like in the Jetsons.
Yeah, that's a great example. The Jetsons. I think for me personally, because of my family and how large they are, I'm concerned that they will destroy that robot. That all the kids might try to jump. Oh, it's like a dog. They're gonna try to ride it or something. I'm like, listen, this is 20K. I don't want you to destroy this thing. So I might hold off until they're a little bit older. But if by that time the iteration of it might be where it like literally, like you said, like in the Jetsons, it's doing the cleanup, it's doing the cooking. Like I remember from the Jetsons, it's pop out the meal right out of his midsection. So by that time, I might be able to do a lot more. But I'm going to go to the comments section to see what people are saying. Mitch says he doesn't like you, Ralph, even though you are his best friend. He says, nope, it's trash. It must remind him of Apple because of the way it looks, so the white and the black. So I don't know, because he's not an Apple person at all. He doesn't like Apple products, so maybe that's why he thinks it's trash. Rod Brown says, I'm open to the idea of these robots, but don't be surprised when iRobot happens and these robots start sending us to the upper room. Lord, I'm not. Hopefully, I'm not around for that. But we have Darcel. He says, "Morning, fam. So glad that you stopped by, Darcel, and are part of the conversation." But yeah, Darcel, would you buy this for 20K if you have the money? Would you buy this robot, or are you feeling like this might be another Black Mirror episode, like Rod Brown is about to say? We'll see, right? He said the robot's too slow making drinks. I need an actual mixologist. So he's like, listen, if I'm paying 20K, it got to do it faster. And then Darcel and Mitch is saying, oh, you get down like that. And so listen, y'all, if you have any thoughts on anything that we have said in the past, definitely stop by. Let us know what it is that you're feeling about the subject. We'll definitely talk about it. So glad that we are able to have this conversation, because this is where the world is trending. There's so many things that are going to be happening, and we want to make sure that we are ahead of the curve. And that reminds me of a segment that we love to talk about here. If you are new to the channel, this is specifically for people that are interested in going outdoors and being part of various events. And so we have the bulletin board. This segment is powered by Black Tech Global, your premier directory for upcoming tech events. So visit blacktechglobal.com for more. Our friend Ty Smith, that is actually his website. So I'm not going to go through the whole list. I'm going to read a couple of things that are happening. And if it's happening in your neck of the woods, then this is a great opportunity for you. We have the Newark Tech Summit. That's the that's happening on October 14th. That is today in Newark, New Jersey. $0 for this event. Then October 15th to the 17th, we have the DC Metro Black Tech Symposium. That's actually in a virtual event for $0. October 15th to the 18th, so that's tomorrow. And then all the way to Thursday, they have Black Week 24. That's in Manhattan. So New York, y'all. That's going to be a little bit pricier, over $1,000 for that one, but check that out if you're interested. October 7th, Diversitech Connect in Philly. They have a mixer that's $10, so it's not that bad or expensive. Check that out. Black Travel Expo. If you love to travel, that might be the event for you, from October 17th to the 20th for $100. And then we're rounding it up with two more events here. We have the Afros and Audio Podcast Festival. If you're into podcasts, that might be a place you want to check out if you're in the Baltimore, Maryland area, for $300. And last for this rundown, we have Black Tech Saturdays. This is happening the 19th. Detroit, Michigan, $0 for that. And that is this week's rundown of the bulletin board. Go ahead and check it for yourself at blacktechglobal.com. There are events that are happening in the future, such as Techsgiving and a few others that you want to make sure that you are looking at and are aware of. So go ahead and check in on those different things. And before we go into the next topic, I'm going to go back to the comment section here to see what is coming down the pipeline. And we have a few comments here. All right, so we have Operation Tech Takeover says, I wouldn't mind having one. Multiple uses in home, tutor, therapist, etc. That's true. One could do a lot. So Mitch says, if I can teach that robot how to use them hands, then I will consider. Grape Sodar says, yeah, I want one after it has been out for some time. LOL. Let them work out the kinks first. And then we have Darcel says, "Can the robot shoot hoops?" Because we use one-on-one partner, right? So when he playing those games, he could get somebody to join in with him, and so that'll be dope. That'll be exciting.
I just
So
had an idea. I just get sorry, Joseph. I just had an
no,
idea
good.
based on what Darcel said, right? It might not be able to play one-on-one, but your rebounder, your passer, so that you can practice. So Mitch can practice shooting from 35 feet. You know, he's not that good at it right now, but if he has a robot, that'll definitely help him out.
Right, and also, can I add this on too? Is that
Please.
I don't know if you've ever seen. They came out with a report that said that more and more people are using Chat GPT for like their therapist. They like use it to just give their deepest, darkest secrets or be their confidant. And Chat GPT is even like responded first to people, like instead of and not necessarily like reacting to what they say. It's just like you open it up and it's like, hey, how was your first day of school in sixth grade or something?
Oh my
And
gosh.
so it's interesting. Like people are just using it to just talk, right? To be their friend. So I think that's what the robot is going to be like as well.
I agree. I agree. There's so many things that they're doing right now with not just artificial intelligence, but AI, and just like these artificial videos that are becoming people's companions. I'm not going to get too deep because if you could sense where I'm going with this, a lot of men or just people in general are using them in companionship. So if this robot does come out with a female version, I'm gonna leave it at that. But then we have Bitch said, Darcel, stop it. Somebody mute Rouse Mike. Can hear you, but not listening. Don't worry, this is the normal procedure between Mitch. It keeps the show alive. But yeah, I love it. I love it. And so with that being said, man, I want you guys to lock in, stay tuned, because we have Before the Billions on with us. We have Tech Coach Ralph as a guest. I forgot to mention this, but didn't want to get too much detail about our normal co-host Trey. He had to take care of some personal things, so he's not here today, but he is with us in spirit. And so if you can let Trey know below his well wishes, you know, I would love to see him on the next episode, which he plans to be on. I wanted to share this conversation with you, this topic, because again, scouring the internet, I did stumble upon something that I thought was very interesting. And it actually was on LinkedIn this time, not Instagram, where there's this story. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you have seen it, then great. You know what I'm talking about. And if you have not, then great. We're about to talk about it. But iX-Ray. iX-Ray. I mean, actually, Before the Billions, have you stumbled onto that story about iX-Ray at all? Or
Yeah,
Ralph?
yeah, I have stumbled across it, man. It was really interesting to see how innovative it is, but also scary at the same time.
I haven't
Yeah,
stumbled across it yet. I just wanted to wait to see what it's about and give my comments in real time.
well, let me say this. In my line of work, this is something that is very interesting, because one of the things that we are supposed to do is build rapport with people. So these glasses right here help you do that by facial recognition. So it recognizes a person's face. It basically takes from various databases, whether it's from social, like if they have any sort of situation in the past. It just draws from all these different various sources in order to kind of say who their name is, where they're from, things like that. So as you see this video in the background, he actually meets somebody in the subway and says, "Hey, aren't you X, Y, and Z person from this, and this, and this? Oh, I remember you." Not really. This was staged, by the way, but just using the example of what was actually presented to him, he was able to build rapport right away. Same thing with this person right now, who was a person that wrote an article that he said he read. And he was able to say, "Hey, aren't you that person that wrote this article? And is this your name?" And I read that article, which is, I guess, the truth, because he's reading it right now in front of his mind. But he's able to, obviously, the guy's like, "Hey, yeah, let's go on the train, let's talk some more." In sales, in technology sales, our job is to build that sort of rapport. But oftentimes we kind of forget people's names. So imagine going into a setting, or I would say going into like a trade show, or even going to a conference, and you're like, "Hey, I remember speaking to you. We talked about X, Y, and Z. Here it is." Or a brand new person, you'd be like, "Hey, you're da 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 da. You did da 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 da. it's such a pleasure to meet you. Off the rip, you have built amazing rapport with that person. However, where everything that could be a positive, there is also this negative side. So I'm going to dive into the story real quickly to kind of draw more people into this conversation. But iX-Ray is a project that was developed by Harvard student An-Fu Nguyen and Kane Ardafio, demonstrates the potential for misuse of smart glasses, right? So the AI technology could be a violation of privacy. I think in some cases it is. But here are some key points about the development. Basically, the system utilizes Meta's Ray-Ban smart glasses to stream video to Instagram, use AI to detect faces in the video stream, search the internet for matching photos and information, and retrieve personal data and from public databases. So this is where it's like, okay, is it a privacy thing if it's public? And then display the gathered information on a smartphone app. So you basically can look down and see that information right in the palm of your hand. So the retrieved data can include name, addresses, all right, phone numbers, and even partial social security numbers. That's where it gets kind of crazy for me. But the students were able to demonstrate that with this app, they're able to identify dozens of Harvard students without their knowledge, approach strangers and engage them in conversation using retrieved information, and revealing personal details to subjects such as home addresses, parents' names. That to me kind of gets crazy. But listen, y'all, what are you thinking of thoughts? I'm gonna let you guys talk for a second, but I just want to actually pause here and let Ralph, and before I even go further, let Ralph and let Before the Billions kind of chime in about what their thoughts are before I continue, because I see the faces.
Yeah, man. I have a lot of thoughts about this, because I work as a data engineer, so I get access to a lot of information, and this really shows that making sure that your stuff is private. Like I was a victim of identity theft at one point during my job search, and because I gave out like a partial of my social security number to a recruiter, or who I thought was a recruiter, and to see that somebody could just look up your partial social security number, from their glasses and do whatever they want with it. Or, you have kids who, are put up on social media as well. So there's a lot of things where, like this is a new innovation that could be helpful, but then also we have to understand that it can be serious as well. Another thing I think about the glasses is actually pretty cool though. Like the point that you said about building rapport with people. I go to a lot of networking events, and sometimes it's hard to remember everybody's name. So it would be good to be able to remember people's name too. So that way you can kind of get more opportunities. And also, show that, hey, I remembered you from such and such. And then I know this about you. So that way it's easy for you to be able to break the ice for people who may not be as extroverted. They can, they know something about the person already. So it's easy for them to kind of like make those connections. But yeah. Also, I wanted to ask you this too. I wonder if this would help people in dating. Like, oh, you already can look up their favorite color without having to ask.
Oh, magenta? Yeah, here we go.
Right.
I'll do you one better. I'll do you one better as far as the dating part, right? You can look up and see, like, do I even want to talk to this person or not? Criminal record. What's on their Instagram profile? What's on their Facebook? Like, I don't know. I'm gonna pass on this one. I'll say this as well, though. The thing with like all of these things is they're neither good or bad. It's when people talk about it, it's what the intention of the people who obtain the technology are going to be using it for. So you can have it where it looks up, oh, even with the dating thing, right? It looks up, oh, this person has a pretty bad criminal record, or police, oh, this person has a warrant out, or and like having that type of data on who to go to. But then on the same side, you also have people who can use it for bad on how to target people. Like, oh, this person is single, let me follow them home and whatever. Like it's really up to how the person, like, who it falls in the hands of, you know. So it can definitely be like I see many positive things for it as well as many negative things for it. And that's the thing with technology. You don't really control who gets access to it. You only like it's only after the fact of whether it's being used for good or bad, that's when you see all the consequences behind it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think a chef's knife can make amazing meals, or it could be a subject of a murder weapon that is under investigation.
Right
And
after they make that amazing meal.
after right after they make the amazing meal, is it tomato sauce or something else? Like it's one
Did
of
he
those things.
clean it off?
Did he clean it off? Man, it's really crazy when you think about the world that we live in. A lot of things that we didn't think were going to happen are happening sooner, even though they're on a prototype stage. A lot of those things are happening, and like what and I'm gonna go to the comment section right now. Now, y'all, so stay with us. But we're just gonna finish up the conversation regarding this and the privacy issues. Basically, regarding what the current privacy regulations are, they're sufficient enough to protect against AI misuse. Uh, that's a question, right? The answer is likely not. The IREX project demonstrates significant gaps in existing protections, which is a lack of specific regulations for AI and facial recognition technologies. You have insufficient control over personal data in public databases, inadequate measures to prevent the combination of seemingly harmless technologies for privacy invading purposes. And this is good. This is a good, if you know, this is a good project if you want to expose, hey, look how much stuff is out there that we could get at our fingertips. And I think it's going to cause for stricter regulations, obviously, and enhanced data protection laws. And with that being said, I'm going to go to the comment section to have our resident data analyst here, Mitch, give his chime in. He said, "Hey, they aren't you the guy that Ralph always loses to?" Mitch is hilarious. On first thought, he said he thought it was an eye doctor. So no, it's not. And then he realized that it's more than this. Rod said, "Cool idea, but this sounds like a breach of privacy." And I do agree with you. Mitch says, "Now you know that every they don't. Let's see, now you know that if they ever do it, even with the last four of your social, you can still be permanently at risk. You ever do a pre-approval and they say we need last four of your social, you got to be careful. Oh, I see what you're saying. You got to be careful who you give that information out to." Like you mentioned, and I know you probably share your story in a few, but like just how you mentioned it, we got to be very careful. He says, "Ralph, you're sick." But
But am I wrong though? But am I wrong?
That's a good question. Are you wrong? And then Mitch OTTO says, "Mitch, you checking for?" Oh man, that's hilarious. Oh man, he's don't catch his hands. Bro, you sick too. I used to like you before that comment. Oh man. Well, listen. Anything else you guys want to say about this subject?
I had a real quick, like,
Yeah.
this does expose how much personal data people put online.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some other stuff like that aggregates data, but it's still a lot of it is public information. But this is scanning social media, different databases that are public, and giving that information in real time. You could probably replicate this, just not get the information in real time, because when you're in a public setting, there's no privacy in public settings. So you can record and then take that recording and then do like all the people that you ran across, do that Google Lens face like search, and it's gonna tell you, okay, like this is where this picture shows up, and now you have the person's name and stuff. It's not in real time, so it doesn't help like that interaction one on one, but you can still get people's data and who they are and stuff like that. So is I think this, if anything, it exposes like how much of your information is out there in the public.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And you being a data engineer before the billions, is there anything addition that you wanted to say?
You know what's interesting? So not only working with people's data, but there's a lot of people getting laid off right now too. I was
Hmm.
laid off. I was impacted, and you send out so many resumes. You
Hmm.
send out your information to so many people, and I'm gonna tell you guys is that you fill out so many job applications, and most of the time you may not hear anything back, or you get rejected. And now, but what happens is they have the full profile just based off of your resume or what you've given them. And that profile, do you think it just sits there, right? Like, oh yeah, you didn't get any opportunity from it, but they have all that information now. A lot of companies they sell that information because it's really expensive to be able to store a lot of information, but then also they can make a lot of money off of it. So if a company ever gets hacked, they have a full profile on you. So that way, you know, they have your phone number, where you live, the past 3 jobs that you had, you know, what your like your security questions and stuff like that. Sometimes people ask you for your social security number, right? As an example.
Yeah.
Do they actually protect that data? Not every company is the same. Not every company has the best intentions. So guaranteed, if you're receiving some spam phone calls and text messages and emails, your data has been breached in some way. They got it from somewhere. One thing I will say is that if you are, and this was something that was suggested to me when I was on my job search, was to hire some people from Fiverr to just blast out your resumes to hundreds of different jobs, or like using AI tools to blast out your resume to different jobs. And if you do that, just know you're giving up a lot of information that is very valuable to companies and or bad actors.
Wow, that says a lot, and I think that we definitely have another topic discussing how to protect ourselves from that, because it happens all the time to a lot of people, whether they know it or not. And I think we definitely need to have a deeper conversation about that. Not sure if next week will be the time, but we got to figure out time to do that for sure. I got great.
Go ahead. That's the one. Go ahead. No, you go ahead. That's what I want to talk about. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, Grape Soda Art said, "I believe this will cause more harm than good." Honestly, yeah, I believe so too. That, and you know, especially in the way that it can be used, the potential that it has. Absolutely, absolutely. Mitch said, "Lock your." Go ahead. Go ahead.
I just wanted to talk about that comment. Is like,
yeah,
you're not gonna stop it. Like there's nothing like, so you need to prepare for this stuff that's coming, instead of like, whether it's gonna cause more harm than good or more good than harm. It's here, right? It's probably not mainstream yet, but if you see the technology out there, you better believe that it's already being used. I remember like there was a TV show, I forgot the name of it, but it was where they had like they were tapped into all the cameras, and they could in real time, they were using that to like try to stop crime and stuff like that, right? But it's just like it's already here. So you just gotta prepare and adapt and make the use of the technology, because you're either gonna get harmed by it or you're gonna protect yourself against whatever is coming as best as you can. But like it is what it is. Like, because they're already stealing credit without this type of stuff. Like, or not credit, but like your information without this stuff. So does it can it make it easier? Yeah, but we also have to do a better job at analyzing the risks and making the right preparations.
See, this is where a sponsor would be good. LifeLock. I don't know whichever one that wants to sponsor the show, but because honestly, this is something that's affecting everybody. So I know you had a few things you want to probably say before the billions. I don't know if there's anything that we missed, but feel free to chime in whenever.
Yeah, there's a comment by Mitch talking about locking your credit and putting a fraud alert. I did that. You can go to the 3 credit bureaus, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian, and they all allow for you to lock your credit. So that way, even if they do get your social security number for whatever reason, they can't do anything with it. Like you can go to like a car dealership, try and get a car, and then they'll say, "Oh, can you unlock your credit first, so that way I can go forward." So yeah, they offer that for free, so you don't necessarily need to pay for anything, but there are other tools out there.
Yeah, and Mitch said a lot of people's information are on the dark web, and yeah, it's terrible. Grape Soda even said it's awful how predators can be more strategic about how they want to attack someone. So scary to think about it, you know. Yeah, absolutely, definitely a scary world. He's like, I'm dumb, not dumb. Mitch says, no free promos, right, Ralph? Don't forget the secondary ones like Lexus, Nexus, and others. In regards to just protecting yourself, yeah, I think it's a really good conversation. Again, I think one that we definitely need to have for sure. So we gotta probably do this. We gotta run this back, guys, because there's a lot of things. If we could, find some more resources for people, information. Obviously, you guys have it. What would you actually? Let me ask this right now, since we're right here. What would you recommend for somebody who says, "Hey, man, I'm on the job search. I've been putting out applications. You mentioned locking security. What can I do because I need to get a job? The way the market is right now, and I want to make sure that I'm protecting myself."
Yeah, just being intentional with where you give your resume, because really you're supposed to tailor your resume for the job that you're trying to get, right? Not that you have to tailor every single one, but you have to have, like, just like I said, a profile, right? I'm a data engineer, so I'm going to be applying for data engineering roles with a specific skill set in, like, whatever, like if you're in cloud, like, hey, I've used these cloud products. So you have to be intentional, because not every company will look at your resume and say, hey, this is, a good match. So spraying and praying doesn't work, right? It's a waste of time, and it gives a lot of information out. Trust me, because I've done it and I didn't get any opportunities from it. But I think that more so leaning on your network, like how I would always suggest people, that's a better return on investment than you ever receive spraying and praying or just applying online for a whole bunch of different jobs. If you reach out to your network, you already know who the person is. You probably have some rapport built up with them. And this can, even if you are a new grad college student, reach out to some of your professors. Reach out to some of the people you went to school with. They may have connections, right? Um, so yeah, that's what I would say. Look for apprenticeships as well if you are, somebody without that much experience, right? And guaranteed, there's probably gonna that opportunity that you're looking for is probably going to come from somebody in your network.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. No longer should we underestimate our network. And if we are underestimating it, maybe it's not strong enough. We need to build that up so that when the time comes, we can reach out to the right people and nurture those relationships. I want to throw this one your way, Tech Coach Ralph, because I know you coach people regarding their resumes as well. What do you say about this comment from Mitch about people should not put their addresses on there? I agree. Well, wanted to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think you put the city or area that you're in, but don't like back in the days when you would when you had like the paper resumes and you would like go into a physically into a place and put in your resume, then that makes sense so they can know like where you're at. But that's always local. But now where it's like the global marketplace, there's no need to it. Just put the general vicinity of where you're at, and even like maybe I think also putting in your LinkedIn profile helps a ton with that as well. It's where you don't have to put like your exact address because nobody really needs to know that. I also say this like with what BTV was talking about. I think also what happens is that people start to ignore red flags um when that like a level of desperation starts to come in, like, oh man, I really, really need this job, and they're like, well, anything can be an opportunity. So now people start to ignore it. I've spoken to like I've talked to people I know personally too, where they go through this whole interview process where they never even see, like they never have a one-on-one conversation. Like everything is done through like Microsoft Teams and stuff like that. I'm like, there's so many red flags here, and the way that they're telling you to get your equipment is just like, so I'm like, you gotta take a step back. It's like something doesn't seem right, and then pull the plug before, like, once they start asking you certain questions, you got to pull the plug. If you do not have an offer letter with a portal at an actual company website, don't give your personal information to that extent.
Yes, I agree. And you know what's interesting, because they've gotten so sophisticated now that I got a call, and usually I always say like I'm gonna ignore certain calls from certain countries, right, from other countries and stuff. But I got a call one time, and then an email, and got on the call with this guy. He said, "Hey man, I see that you're looking for a job. I kind of need you to, like, if you want this job as a contract position, if you want to apply for this job, I need you to do a few steps for me." And he kind of like started walking me through some steps. Like, hey, I'm gonna send you an email. You got to fill out this like form. And then, okay, I filled out the form of like my experience and stuff like that. And I was like, wait a second, there's some missing fields right here. Like, is it supposed to be like that? He's like, yeah, don't worry about that. So I was like, okay, filled out some of the forms. And then he's like, okay, well, by the way, I need you to like respond to this other email that says I give you my consent to be represented. So I said, okay, I've seen that before. And then I'm gonna send another email, and I want you to send a picture of your driver's license. And I was like, wait a second, now that's a little bit too much. I looked it up, and it says, oh yeah, perfect recipe for identity fraud, right? And also you got to be
Wow.
careful with the type of the job boards that you put your resume into. Now, like, I know that this is a very popular job board, but Dice, I've received like it's specifically for people who are in technology, but I've received so many bad actors from Dice. It's
Mm.
crazy. I think it's a good platform itself, but whenever I put up my resume on there, I never put my phone number or my email and or my address. I don't put any personal information. Just like I set up my profile, and they can respond to me on the profile. So you really had to protect yourself.
Wow. Wow. Good. That's a good call out. I didn't even think about the fact that there are certain job boards out there that could be a potential risk depending on what it is that you want to give up, right? And then that actually, going back to your story, kind of pointed out what you just confirmed, which is basically Aaliyah says, "What up, Aaliyah?" She's gonna be, she's one of the crew that I normally go to events with, and she said also get out and go to these networking events, especially those that are sponsored by companies you want to work for. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Thank you so much, Aaliyah, that you were able to stop by. I definitely appreciate that for sure. Man. So I think this might be a great segue to talk about it, man. Your story. Your story before the billions. You were able to kind of share a bit with us. We've been able to track with you on YouTube. I think it's something that a lot of people can, who are going through it right now, looking for a job, can be encouraged by. So I'm gonna pass the mic over to you, let you have the spotlight and share your story.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that because, it was it's an interesting story how it started. I mean, most recently I have been on a job search. Right, I used to work at a company called Bronze.USA, and a fantastic company. It's Fortune 500 staffing agency, and that's where I got a lot of experience as a data engineer. And I was working on like the ATS system, the applicant tracking system that a lot of people use in order to hire and source talent. And it gave me a lot of insight into the job market. But when I found myself like looking for a job, uh, I was sitting here thinking like, wow, like where do I really start? And what I did was I started going to networking events aggressively. I went to so many networking events, so many different conferences, and I got opportunities to go all the way across all the states, to go to like Google Cloud Next in Las Vegas earlier this year. I went to conferences like Blacks in Technology. I went to so many different ones, and I just like kept meeting more people. And even when I went to like other states, I started recognizing some of the same people. And I knew that it was going to be a better return on investment than just applying online. I made a video recently talking about how a form is just a formality. When I put myself out there and I was giving out my resumes, I noticed that like, people would ghost you. People would, not actually have a job available. You would go through a full interview process. I went through like 3 interviews at one company, and like I met the whole team, applied for the job and everything, and then they ghosted me and never heard back from them. Right. So, I'm sure that a lot of people are running into that type of issue. But the way to counter that is just to always stay active. I started to speak to small businesses with my own company before the billions, and I started doing consulting just to keep myself, active and have something on my resume. And that helped me out because I'm like, hey, I have a skill set, and I thought of myself as a business entity as opposed to just like a professional or just as a employee. I said, hey, I am somebody who provides data engineering services as opposed to just somebody who is just looking for a job. So when I started getting contracts with small businesses and startups, then that helped me to make a little bit of income while I was looking for that full time role to have a main income to take care of a lot of the bills. But I recently just got a job. I got the offer through me in my network. Somebody connected with me, and I put out a lot of content of videos and pictures of me talking about my journey and setting up myself to improve my skills, improve my network. And they really appreciated that, even to the point where they say, hey, I just saw your post about you talking about professional and personal development and business strategy. I feel like that's a fantastic post. I want to see if you want to interview for this job that we have coming up. I feel like I know you, and that led to me actually landing the role that I have now as a data engineer. I've gotten featured in articles. I've been featured in uh, tech boot camps and the Black Genius Academy, which is a Google initiative with Tech Equity Collective and Career Karma. I have also done interviews with Business Insider, and I've been featured in Forbes BLK. Throughout this job search journey, I have gotten so many different opportunities, like keynote speeches, so many different things I've been able to attain since I started this journey, and I cannot stop. Since the ball is rolling now, I can't stop. I have to keep going, and I'm thankful for my team and thankful for my community and my network. So I just want to say, and also thank you to Joe and Ralph for having me up here as well. I think that me being able to give my testimony of how I was able to get a job could potentially help a lot of other people as well. So just remember that if you are looking for a job right now, the form is a requirement for you to be able to get the job. But if somebody tells you to just apply like everyone else, just know that you're going to be competing with everyone else. And the best way to get an edge on the competition is for somebody to say, I want to hire you. And how do you get that? By building rapport with either the decision maker, the hiring manager, or somebody like a recruiter who can advocate for you. So that's what I have to say for my story.
Man, I love that. I love that, and I saw claps in the comment section for Leah. I think the fact that you said, "Listen, I'm not going to lie here and roll over," but you took initiative. You already started building a community with your YouTube channel, and I think that right there is something that I want to harp on for a second, because that's how I got this position that I'm at right now, where somebody found me on my YouTube page talking about what I do, and they said, "Hey, we would love to interview you." One of the fastest positions in regards to just interview processes that I had to go through. And literally that's how I got into this particular role with this particular company, which I think has honestly been a blessing overall. And so really good company. And they're going for the moon. And so there's a lot of nuggets, y'all, that were said in that I would love for you to go back. But I'm going to pause here and give Tech Coach Ralph a chance to give his 2 cents about what he just heard.
I love it. I've been rooting for you for a while. It sounds like though the new networking is social media and creating content, because I wouldn't have met Joseph if it wasn't for my channel and his channel, and now before the billions, Trey and that other guy in the chat that starts with the M. But yeah, like no, definitely. I think there's so many layers to it, right? And like you said, they saw your content, like, oh, I like the growth that you're talking about. I feel like I know you. This job is for you. You just have to like fill out the form at this point for us to finish it off. Um, yeah, I think that's pretty much my thoughts for now. But yeah, I think it's awesome though. I keeping like putting out the information, your journey, it helps a lot. Maybe with my channel that might not help me.
I think the opposite. I mean, the way you break down things, the way you learn on screen, Tech Coach Ralph, it's inspiring. And for somebody who's technical, who wants somebody that's technical as a QA engineer, they're like, oh yeah, he's a guy because he actually knows what he's doing. Because I can see him do it in real life. So so keep doing what you're doing, man. I just want to encourage everybody to just keep take a moment to go back to what was just said, take those notes right there, and I'm going to listen back to myself and really kind of say, hey, am I doing these things? Can I do these things better? Because I really, your story is so inspiring, and I think that a lot of people need to hear it. And I know obviously you can go to your channel before it's at Before the Billions on YouTube, right?
Yes, sir.
So youtube.com/at Before the Billions. So you could you can see his journey and how it unfolded and see all that's going on. Grape Soda says, thanks, guys. Was encouraging. Appreciate you all. Yes, thank you as well, Grape Soda, for all that you said. Mitch is hilarious. Mitch said, wow, can't even say my name. What a hater. Sad world we live in.
I had a question for BTV. So you're talking about like how you traveled pretty much across the country, different networking events and stuff like that. How did you leverage that into being able to, like, maybe in the content that you created, to land the position that you just got?
Man, it's actually pretty interesting because it's like so broad. Like I can't pinpoint that one specific thing that happened, but I what I did was I started posting myself at these events, right? And then I realized that some people were like, "Oh, he has a lot of free time," right? Then I was like, "Okay, well let me actually start talking about like some of the things I'm learning at these events. Maybe that could like lead to a better and a better outcome." And then I started learning from my mentors and people I kept seeing over and over again. And I started noticing some trends just talking to people, people going through the same situation as me. I know some people who have been laid off for over a year and they haven't had a job. Some people I met through networking, they are homeless, and they had kids and everything like that. So it's really real. But these real experiences have prepared me to be able to make better content because I have a better scope of how life really is. And that's why I started like going to these networking events. Not only has it increased my visibility in the tech space, people say, "Hey, you actually really are working. You're really trying to do something good. So I'm gonna give you referrals, right? Without me having to ask." When
Mm.
I noticed that, this is interesting, right? Because some people will tell you, "Oh, ask people for referrals," and I'm not gonna tell you to not do it, but I'm gonna tell you that when I got desperate and I was looking for a job, I started asking people for referrals, and what happened was that people started to push away from me, and it started to give me a bad
Mm.
look, to where people were like, "Oh, I would love to give you a referral, but I'm traveling right now. Oh, I got something to do," and they can get paid for giving you a referral,
Yeah.
but I just didn't want to seem desperate, right? So what I started doing was I said, you know what? Let me get my perspective on the job market. Let me get my perspective on these events. Let me tell people some actionable insights that they can gain through going to these networking events. Because if you go to the networking event and then that's it, you probably won't receive anything from it, right? You have to go up and talk to a lot of people. You have to be able to work a room, and you have to be able to like have something like some notes or something that you've learned from it. And then also, don't go into the job interview expecting people to care that you went to this like workshop or a networking event or hackathon. If it's like directly correlated to the job, then definitely you can bring it up. Like for my job, I told them I went to the Snowflake Data World Tour because the job uses Snowflake, and I learned more about the tool. So if you're going to network events, make it relevant to what the job is, because that helps them to rationalize. Okay, this person is actually passionate about learning new technologies specifically and related to what we're doing now. So yeah, man.
That was so good. Good question, Ralph. That was a really good question. I didn't that correlation is a great one. So listen, we might have to do another round two for this because there's so much nuggets that could be said. I mean, we could do a whole show based off of this conversation regarding your story, what to do, breaking down networking, breaking down creating content around it, breaking down what you should learn, breaking down even the right people to connect with. Not saying that you want to be pushing people away, but there are certain people you want to make sure you're strategically reaching out to and connecting with, and also that tidbit about asking people for referrals. You have to want to provide value first. You want to make sure that they realize that, hey, this is a relationship that's not just transactional. It's a little bit higher level than that. So as like Terry said, good point there. Really good. Go ahead,
The
brother.
thing with referrals is that like you're asking someone to put their name on the line at their company for you, and if they don't know you well enough, you're like, "Well, I don't want to put, I don't want to like mess up my credibility at my company." So that like even me, I'm real hesitant to for referrals, but I won't. I'll just tell them like no, but I'm not gonna be like, oh, I'm traveling and stuff like that. But it's like for me, I have to know somebody personally. I need to know how they work, their work ethic, and all that stuff. Like, all right, I trust you to work with. Pretty much, you're inviting them to work with you. So those are the things like I'm always thinking about when I'm meeting different people and stuff.
Yeah,
And
man.
Mitch right on time says, sounds like Ralph gaslighting. He not giving referrals. I told you I know that guy. LOL. Well, listen, hey, he has a reason behind it, so I'm not mad at him for that. Oh man, but as we're wrapping the show, I wanted to say thank you everybody for staying with us and rocking with us. This was an excellent show, great time, a great conversation, and I want to just wrap up with one of our favorite segments within the show, which is our famous Brown Box Special. So if you're not familiar, Brown Box Special is a story about someone that either got let go, quit, or fired from their job. And we are using this as therapy for ourselves. So we could laugh at their pain, we could sympathize, we could empathize, we could even be upset on their behalf for what they experienced, but also to normalize the fact that this does happen to us all. If we had not experienced it, it's probably coming your way, maybe, but hopefully not. But yes, this story is from Kurt of BuzzFeed. Actually, many years ago, we hired a line cook that had a decent amount of experience. He started on steak night. The first steak was undercooked. Refire, undercooked again. On his third try, the steak was undercooked. Fourth try, the cow was still mooing when it came off the grill. The front house manager goes to the head chef and tells him to kick the cook off the line, so he does. His new job was to replace me on the saute station. The first order he got there was a side of asparagus, so he put the asparagus into a hot pan and added enough oil to deep fry them. Not making this stuff up here. He turned on the stove. Oil escaped and hit the flame and started a fire. He went to grab water, and if not for my head chef saying, stopping him and stealing the cup, we might have had a bigger fire. Just like that, gone. It turned out all of his previous jobs were places, but his supervisors were just friends who lied. Total time of employment, 3 hours. And that was his story. If you have any Brown Box specials that you want to share on the show, let it be known. You know where you can reach us out on LinkedIn. If you don't, feel free to go down in the description, and I believe our LinkedIn is there. But reach out to us. Let us know if you know any brown box special stories that you are willing to share. It doesn't have to be about yourself, but if you want to share one, definitely do that. Again, thank you so much for stopping by, Tech Coach Ralph, before the billions. In lieu of my co-host Trey not being here today. So thank you so much, y'all, for doing it. It was an excellent show, and I believe everybody enjoyed it. Yes, go ahead.
What the story didn't tell you is that it was Mitch that gave the referral.
It was Mitch that gave the referral. He was one of the supervisors. Oh, Mitch. I'll wait a little bit for Mitch to respond to that because his trigger fingers will be moving. He's like, "Ralph, you better catch these hands the next time. I'm in the Sunshine State." But yeah. Oh man. So yeah, that's another question right there. So now those supervisors are. He said, "Grow up." Mitch said, "Grow up." He said, "Grow up." I did not refer this man to start a fire in the kitchen. But that shows you though, because now those supervisors will probably be looked at as like, you just referring anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't take that word for anything now, right? Because when future hiring comes up, that's it. And I think that in order for people to get paid, you have to stay there for 3 months. For a lot of companies, like 3 hours is gonna cut it. So you didn't even make the $500, right?
He probably didn't make 10 cents. I don't know. Especially when you consider the fire that he caused. Like, I'll take your pay. You owe us money. Come back here.
Messing up those steaks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the steaks are expensive too.
That was 4 steaks in a row. Man. Last one was moving all the way home. But thank you so much, gentlemen. As I said, this was a great show. Thank you so much, audience, as well, for stopping by on this episode of Talk That Tech. And I'll do it because I know that it's been a long morning, but the number one Talk Tech radio show right now on the planet, I guess. Well, hope
you're on radio too now.
Well, we're on a network. We're on a live podcast network, so I guess podcast. But until next time, peace, family, peace, and elbow grease. See you later.